Hello, hello, hello. This is the Mental Threads Podcast, episode 117. I am here with Harrison Horne, if you'd like to say something.
What's up, y'all? Harrison Horne. From Atlanta, living in Charlotte about 4 years. My first ever podcast, so I'm actually excited to be able to lend my opinions, my voice. I'm gonna try to keep it very professional, hopefully not controversial. Just keep it with the theme. So
Yeah, keeping it within the themes and stuff of that nature. Me and Harrison met off digitally off the 24 plus group chat, which I really interviewed a lot of other people from that group chat into this podcast and everything of that nature. And mind me telling you, how did you end up in that group chat? Because I can't remember how I ended up.
how did I end up? Probably, well, from what I found out in Charlotte, that Charlotte is like very small, especially when it comes to like the black culture.
Uh-huh.
So I think I probably met someone that actually, no, I actually take that back. We actually had another group chat before that, but people became petty and things like that. So they created another group chat, and of course, I was in it. I think the original group chat actually started off of Facebook, probably like some like black singles in Charlotte or something. And we just all decided to do a group me so that it could be a little bit more flowing when we have our conversation. So from then, just started to, the group chat, we add members and people get kicked out. So,
Well, I've been on my best behavior, to be honest. I wish I could be more, into it more, because it's just like, it'd be hard to do it on GroupMe for some reason on my phone. It doesn't really notify me when people talk as much as it used to. I sort of like every time somebody will message, it will let me know. Now it's just like, oh yeah, by the way, there's like 10 or 20 messages. Like, oh really? And so now it's like I gotta periodically check in with that group chat like on my own. You know what I'm saying? So it's just like it'd be a whole lot. I have to remember everything. Like, oh snap, I haven't spoken to this group chat in a while. You know what I'm saying? So it's just like I feel like one thing in my 20s I realized is just like I think I'm building more connection through these group chats and through social media than I would in like real life and stuff of that nature. Would you say it's just kind of like a transition between generations? Kind of. How old are you right now?
33.
Oh, really? You're 33? Okay, I would have never assumed. I would have thought maybe you're like 29, maybe 27 at the youngest.
Appreciate that. Black don't crack.
Yeah, black definitely doesn't crack.
But I would say there is a difference, especially since I work with students, especially kindergarten, fifth. They're way more advanced than what I was in because they grew up in it. We started that transition, but they're actually like just engraved in it. The things they can do, the things they know, which is kind of like a double-edged sword because technologically wise, they're advanced, but with more technology brings, I feel like the kids know too much. I feel like they're being exposed to adulthood faster than we were. And that's a problem because they see other kids and maybe what they have. And, I work in a Title I school, so a lot of the kids actually talk about the things they don't have versus what they see the kids that, probably live 10 minutes down the road have. So I think it does cause, problems when it comes to their self-esteem, their social-emotional. They might feel they have to, work 3 times as hard and try to get what they have because somebody's mom and dad is rich versus their mom and dad are working, 2-3 jobs and still don't have. So I think there is a age difference, an age gap when it comes to technology. I do believe that the next generation coming up is going to be the generation that really breaks that ceiling when it comes to what we can see, like the Jetsons and stuff like that, flying cars and, cars on top of water. I believe they're going to be their generation.
Yeah, honestly, let's not hope flying cars comes for like another 100 and 200 years, to be honest, because I don't know. Like, people can't even drive now. So it's just like, flying cars, I don't know. That's a little bit scary, you know what I'm saying? But I see your observation. I know you say you're a counselor and everything. You don't want to disclose what school, right? You just want to say like you're a counselor.
I'll keep just for, confidentiality, but it's on the southwest side of Charlotte. So
okay, is it a predominantly black school or is it just kind of mixed up?
It's actually a predominantly Hispanic school, which is like a big culture shock to me because I've only been around black people, all my life. Like this is actually the first time I've actually been like the minority in my workplace, my school. I mean, even when I was in after I graduated I worked at a company that had majority black workers, and then again, I worked when I went to grad school. I worked at a place that was kind of mixed. So this is my first time actually being a minority, being black, and also being a black male. But also, I'm a minority anyway because of me being a black male counselor. There's not a lot. I mean, there's not a lot of male counselors, but it's a black male. So it's really a culture shock because now I'm not only a minority there in that realm, but I'm also, the cultural differences in Hispanic, like Latin and Hispanic cultures. It's a culture shock, but it's majority Hispanic, and then our next highest demographic is black.
Yeah, no, that's really, really cool, man. Like, seriously, because I'm from East Side Charlotte, so I'm actually pretty much, I'm used to like Hispanic culture and black culture and everything to a more home degree, but at the same time, it's like, like my folks had pushed me to go to predominantly white institutions, usually in Ballantyne area, Charlotte, that's in South Side Charlotte, or just stuff of that nature. And I would say it was kind of hectic, especially for me, because I only had like one black male teacher, I think, throughout my whole tenure there and everything. I didn't get my first black male teacher until middle school and everything. But when I went to like, I know you say you pretty much graduated from like HBCU. When I went to like North Carolina Central, and you graduated from Albany State, just want to put that out there. I feel like that's when I really reinvigorated myself, not only as a student but as an individual. That's when my grades was like at top tier. Like I only had like 2 C's throughout my whole time, and on that it was just A's and B's throughout my whole tenure at North Carolina Central University and everything. I graduated cum laude and stuff, and it was a predominantly black institution. You know what I'm saying? So it's just like, what would you say is like the importance in regards to like for black kids and everything to kind of see like a black teacher or black counselor or black principal, just stuff of that nature? How important would you think that is to like a kid's development?
I would say, and this is something that I guess I don't want to say it's controversial, but I would say that coming from my perspective, it wasn't anything special for me to see a black, because I've only had black teachers. It was actually more like intriguing to see a white teacher at my school. In elementary, I had black teachers. My middle school, I went to Martin Luther King High School, but it was, it was an annex school. So from 7th to 12th grade, I had nothing but black teachers. And I don't know, I really don't know how to answer that question, but I guess from my perspective, I think it's a good thing because, a lot of the black students that we have, they especially our black boys, they reach out to me all the time. Like they love talking to me. It's like they when they see me, they're like, "Oh snap, Mr. Horne, hey Mr. Horne." Like I feel like a celebrity when I walk through the school, especially. But I think it's very important. I do believe seeing that representation, but also I think seeing that good representation. One thing I can say about my school is that the fathers are involved, especially the black fathers. If I call a mom will say, "Go and call his dad." And I'm like, okay, I hate to, I don't want to sound like it sounds stereotypical, but seeing that, it's like, okay, these fathers here, and these are my generation of people that are around my same age. So it's very good. But to answer your question, I think it's important. I think it's very important to see, because they can see that we are in a professional realm. And, unfortunately, there are situations where a lot of the black role model or the black guardians that they do have are kind of, I'm not gonna say problematic, because I think like anybody can be redeemed, but it's not in the best light. So
Not the most like positive.
Yeah. So, and with that is, I take that role. If a child doesn't have a father figure or don't have a role model, I definitely take that role serious. I think it's important to see. I wish we'll see more in my school, but it's a teacher shortage everywhere. So it's kind of hard to even get to that part where you can see more. But I can't say my principal. She's definitely trying to push to get more black representation into the schools.
Oh yeah, sure. That's yeah, most definitely. Thanks for that quote right there, because I feel like it is very important. Really, because I feel like my life would have been in a much different trajectory, or more positive. Like, not saying like, oh, my life was so shitty. But I feel like there was a lot of stages in my life where things were like, thrown out of whack and everything. I feel like a lot of that because I never had that support from whether it would be a black male or a black woman, a teacher, and everything. I feel like that would have really affected my life more more positively, as opposed to like, you know, a lot of the discrimination I had to feel, discrimination I had to face at a young age, and everything. I feel like, you know, black teachers, especially male teachers, are more respondent and more understanding, and would actually want you to win, you know, as opposed to like those that just like, oh, you cheated on that paper, you did this, you know what I'm saying? You know, like I didn't really rediscover myself until I had nothing but black teachers. Like I had a couple white teachers in college too, and everything, working at HBCU. And I'm not trying to like, you know, put them on anywhere, but it's like they were helpful also. All of them were very helpful. But to have a predominantly black, you know, institution supporting you that help mold you and grow you, you know, it's like that's why I take supporting HBCU so serious, because it was such a positive turn for my life, you know. And it's just like, you know, I just wish that, you know, like even though there might be black kids that might be in a situation like, oh, maybe I might not be able to grow to be this, or whatever, I want to be stuck in this. You know what I'm saying? I might not have it like, you know, where I can actually reach that level. I feel like, you know, we should push more for education, like at HBCUs more often, so they want to go to school. I went to an HBCU where it was 80% women, 20% males, you know, which is like, wonderful for us. But it's like at the same token, it was just like, you know, like that's really, really daunting that a lot of black, you know, boys don't end up growing to the point where they actually want to seek out their education. You know what I'm saying? And I feel like that's very concerning to me. What's your thoughts on that?
And I agree. I do feel like, you know, our black boys, you know, I don't want to say that our black boys don't want to go to college. I think it's more so that colleges aren't really putting our black males into positions to even, you know, have they're not reaching out a lot to our black boys. Working as a counselor, you know, I've seen it. You know, there's a lot of organizations that reach out to our black girls, which is, you know, beautiful. I love to see it, but the reach to the black boys is like almost non-existent. And it's not. I don't think it's because there aren't, you know, male, you know, organizations that don't, but I don't think that it should be from like just the small pockets of people trying to reach out to our black boys. So when we see, I can't say the word now, disappropriate. I can't say the word right now, but when we see that skewed number of 80% women to 20% men, it shows and it's talked about as if our black men don't want to do better, but I think black men are seeing that they want to be educated, but the education system, especially black academia, isn't really for them. And so that's where I think the conversation should go. It's not, you know, why don't we see our men in college? It's like, what are we doing to supplement that? Because black men want to work. They want to be provided. They want to be. But they don't see college because a lot of times colleges and academia is kind of against, you know, our black men. You know, there's so many, you know, publications, you know, there's so many, you know, they don't feel welcome there, you know, even at HBCUs. So and it goes back to the question that we're talking about, you know, seeing that. I love seeing, you know, more black teachers and black people into school system, but we also understand how do they see our black boys. There was recently I read an article that was talking about how the education of black boys is almost seen as prison. There was a study that said that the black women saw black boys as, you know, they were tougher on them and didn't give them that grace that they might need, versus the white teachers who really didn't see anything. They basically said, oh, well, you're doing your best, when they didn't really push them. So as a kid, as a black boy, you're saying like I don't see the benefits of education, because this is what they're seeing. Like the educational navigation of black boys is terrible. They don't see the benefits in it, and the ones that do see it, those are the 20% that you see go to college. But we're honestly doing a disservice, and you know, it's a disservice because it's systemic. You know, we're not seeing our black boys as more than, honestly, I don't know, just we push the outliers, but then the people that aren't like the outliers, we're just saying just pushing them through, and then when it's time for them to graduate high school, it's like they have no goals and no focus. And I believe that it's systemic. Now, do I think that all teachers are not those teachers that are pushing, especially our black teachers, our black men and women teachers, that they're doing it out of hate? I don't think so, but I think that that's a whole nother conversation that it has, that our black boys deserve the same type of grace, the same type of work that we see on their racial counterparts. So it's a lot that needs to be done when it comes to our black boys' education, because from the numbers, it just seems like we don't want to. But honestly, a lot of time when kids get to high school, black boys get to high school, they're not seeing a benefit education because they've been almost tormented during their whole educational matriculation. So
Yeah, man, no, I felt that heavy when he stated that, because, like, yeah, tormented, yeah, it wasn't even, in my case, man, isn't even, like, the word. Like, I swear, it's not just the word, it's literally, like, a whole lifestyle when it came to school. I saw school as just a big adversity. It's a place I get discriminated against, a place where I had to deal with all types of, like, mental, social, and emotional abuse, you know what I'm saying? I never saw school as, like, a sanctuary. Like, very rarely, until I went to college. Like, like, community college, not so much, because I was still in the same circles of people I knew from high school, so it just kind of got worse, as opposed to when I went to, like, North Carolina Central University, where I thought I was just, okay, I'm gonna just party, live or whatever kind of college life. But then, like, no, I actually, like, was doing well in school, not just doing well, but excelling. And all because I had mentors I had behind me. Shout out to Mr. Sean Andrews and Dr. Roger Keith. Black men, positive black men, family black men, who actually, like, wanted to, like, endear young black minds to actually, like, grow and progress in society, and it's so, like, crazy that it's like, like, it's because, like, interacting with these two people, I want to go to grad school. I want to go to, like, get my doctorates one day, things that I didn't even, like, entertain at one point, because I thought that I was so incompetent due to, like, the environments that I had to grow into, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's just like, let's just say if we, like, have, like, a set of animals, like, okay, like a monkey, a freaking squirrel, a koala, and then, like, maybe a goldfish and everything in the classroom. And let's just say, like, okay, and then thinking and try to judge all the animals of who's a genius by how well they can climb trees. That fish is going to go about his whole life thinking he's an idiot, just because of one function. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, that's kind of how I see it is. But then us black kids in, like, this system, really, as soon as, like, there's something, like, you come from all these other homes that might have, like, okay, a 2-parent household, maybe a household that might have older siblings, or people that are able to, like, help them with their homework and their education, versus ones that may not have that same support and are kind of ill prepared. Some excel, some don't. But it's like, to really, like, a lot of these kids are usually, like, thrown down or, like, looked down upon in society, and then, like, they never really get over that threshold. Very few do, and I would like to say, like, I'm glad I'm getting through that threshold myself. But a lot of that had to do with the seeds implanted into me by my mentors and everything. Mentors who related to me. Mentors who understood the struggle. Mentors who come from where I come from, or, like, worse, and then it could actually mentor me to get through it. That masculine energy. And it's so important within the black development of black boys. And a lot of us have been emasculated, completely spiritually cut off, essentially emotionally defeated, by the time we even leave high school. So it's just like, it's so sad how it's just like the system works, and that, but, like, we know how it is. Yet we never find a way to really, not to say reverse that, but find solutions to actually, like, better, safeguard against that for black boys. Might you have anything in mind that might really help, or anything of that nature?
I think personally, the only way that you can have is that it has to come from, honestly, getting out of the way the American education system is. I'm not a big fan of charter schools or private schools, but I do think that there needs to be a re-education of how we see black education. Unfortunately, because we are such a minute, population when it comes, that we're not even seeing. Going back to your your story that you said about the monkey, the fish, and how testing, I believe, the testing is the worst thing that ever happened to American education system, because I remember growing up, we took the Iowa test of basic skills. That test was based off of people who, I'm from Georgia, and like it's two different things. Luckily I was middle class, so I was able to, socially, emotionally, and just financially, I was able to have what I needed to be able to test well. I have kids that come here hungry, and all they can get is like a banana and a little bag of food. But every morning I had breakfast. My mom did it. Able to do that. So the only way I could see it changing, it has to be like almost a renaissance, right? But the thing is, the way education here is really settled just to get people to become basically good workers. It's not really. It's really interesting that the people that are billionaires are the people that kind of like struggled in school, because they probably saw that school was not, the way that they was doing everything was, just not cut and paste. They saw outside and they might got it wrong, but they always kept trying. So I just think that it has to be a renaissance of education. And I feel like that has to come from, I feel like Black academia has to change this outlook on how they see education. I think the way that the Black America has to understand education is just not for just to push you to get a good job, because everybody, if that's the case, everybody, it's not going to happen that way. I do believe everyone has I believe all the kids that come through has the ability to, make something of themselves and to actually value education. I want them to value education. I love education, I think. But what type of education? It has to be a renaissance of change in the whole educational system. Mm-hmm. Do I think it will happen where America is? I honestly don't. I honestly believe that it will not, because the way the education system sets up, it is, it's making people rich. Mm-hmm. Even, I don't want to sound like a conspiracy theorist, and it's really not a conspiracy. The way that they're going about the education system now, they're trying to make it basically only the people who can afford to go to school can go to school, and if you can't, you're going to be stuck in the worst of the public education system, where you're not going to get the things you need. So when I say that it's going backwards, it's getting worse, it really is. Like, just going into politics, the what's his name, the governor, the deputy governor, Mark Roberts, I believe his name is. Mm-hmm. He's been on record saying he wants to eliminate the whole board of education. He wants to be like one person that answers all the questions. That's going to be the worst shit ever. It just has to be a new renaissance. I mean, that's the only way. There's no trick question. It's like until America wants to see education as not just who we can get as to be our workers to make somebody else rich, it won't change.
Yeah, man, I feel like one thing that would definitely help, like, because you're a Black counselor, so it's like you're actually like, I feel like I'm sitting in the car with the solution right here. One of the solutions is really we need to get more people to get interested in like jobs within education. Definitely education, mental health. That's the second one. Those are the two main things I feel that's going to help. Once we get more counselors and more teachers throughout elementary school, middle school, and high school, it will be nice to actually push like those predominantly Black schools, like where you pretty much grew up in. I feel like we need more of that also. But I feel like that would also really, really be more of a positive impact for sure.
I disagree in that, and the reason why I disagree in that is because I know that we try to say we integrate into places or not, but if you look at the demographics of Charlotte, it's segregated. Mm. So there are schools with majority Black teachers, and unfortunately, a lot of times it's not better. And the reason why I say it's not better is systemic. We look at the funding. I mean, the funding is the biggest thing. I mean, the way that they fund schools is based off of your tax, your area. So if you are lower income, it's based on your taxes. So if you're low income, you're not paying that much taxes because you don't have that money. So it's
bull crap.
It's bull crap. It is. So like literally the school I work at, and you go 10 minutes down the road, it's like it's a totally different type of school because they have a higher tax bracket. That's not fair. That's not equitable. And the teachers that are at the Black schools, they're doing their best. I mean, I know they are. I mean, there's always rotten apples now, but they're doing their best to teach. So like I said, that's where that renaissance has to happen. They had to say, okay, we need to give everybody the same resources. Now, will that happen? Like I said, I don't think so, because it will take away, the people who are making millions and millions of dollars from selling all these curriculums to close the gap and to help the minority kids and all this stuff, and they make money from it. I mean, everything is a business, and the only thing that people are suffering is our kids. Like, they're even getting to the point where they're trying to take away social emotion. They're calling social emotional, curriculums woke, woke curriculums. I'm like, our kids are dying. Our black boys are dying. Our black girls are dying. There has been an uptick in this, and they're saying this is woke curriculum because we want to talk about the social emotional needs of our students. And the thing is, because it's crazy, because the people who can afford to send their kids if they to these. I used to work in a psychiatric facility for children, that had like really bad like mental health problems. The parents could afford the $800 a day to send them and to get the help. But what about the kids in school? They can't afford that. They just gotta go through, and then they don't have what they need because people in legislation want to take away because they think it's woke stuff. We see the history. As a black kid, if you only see one side of history, you're not gonna. Why would you want to learn? Why would you want to learn about this when your curriculum is based off of someone that's not even in your own environment, and they tell you you're not smart because you can't do what someone else do, because someone could do down the road because they have everything they need at home? Why would they want to say, well, I'm just not smart? I mean, I've had so many kids tell me that I'm not smart because they can't follow the directions that it's like it's cookie cutter, and kids are not cookie cutter. So until they change that, and they won't, because it doesn't make sense. And I mean dollar sense, not just common sense. So that's why I say I push back. I mean, we have black schools that are like 95% black teachers, and those black teachers are doing good work. They're trying their best, but they know that they can only do so much because the system doesn't care, and they refuse to care.
Yeah. So you feel like a lot of the issues come from a lack of resources, essentially, what you're saying.
I 100% agree with the lack of resources. We see, and the reason I know it's lack of resources, and we see these charter schools that get all this stuff, and I'm like, why are they getting all these things? And when you see it, then they get all this stuff they need. I mean, if you watch Abbott Elementary, that's why I love that show, because it's like a representation. They're going against, the charter schools now, because they're seeing all this resources they get because of just being a charter school. They get funding, and like, why can't Abbott Elementary get that funding? Why are they struggling? Why is Miss I forgot her name, the Italian teacher, why is she teaching second and third grade? That's wild. Like, those things are happening. We actually have a classroom that has two teachers in one classroom because we don't have enough classrooms. So that's real life stuff. But if you go up the street, another school has all the resources they need, in the same area. And I'm not even talking about the coming over here where South Park is, because the school I'm talking about is up the street from where we're at right now. It's because they don't care. They don't want to. They will. That's why I said we're still segregated, even though we're supposed to be integrated. And that segregation is shown. You can see it in the schools and the home. Those are the two things. When you want to see where segregation lasts, look at the schools and look at where the houses are. And if you see it, then you understand this shit is systemic.
Yeah, no, it's crazy, man. There is a sense of systemic patterns to it to a degree. I know I face it, and this kind of affected me in my education to a degree, because like my mom would put me on the bus to go to South Charlotte to get my education, because she believed that that this middle school in Ballantyne Plantation would get like better resources for me to go to school and to learn better. I've had cousins that went to Garinger, which is like known as like a very you're really aware of what Garinger High School is, right? Yeah. So it's like he still managed to still go to college, and now he goes to college at Western Carolina University and everything, just off the jump. And like for me, I always struggled in predominantly white institutions because due to discrimination and everything, me not getting the support needed and stuff of that nature. And then it's just like the crazy thing is CMS literally cut busing off like my 8th grade year and everything to zone the different school sections off. And I'm like, even as a kid, I know, okay, there's something fishy with that situation. It's like, 'cause what benefit do you get from like not giving people like the freedom to go to whatever school they wanted to if they live here? They got a busing to get there, you know, like providing busing, which provided jobs, and now you're cutting that off because why? You know what I'm saying? So it was kind of strange to me. You know, it's just like just the extents they would go to really, you know, section people off. And I feel like that's hella illegal. I never understood why that got a vote and stuff of that nature. But I feel like a lot of that might have been racially motivated. What's your thoughts on that?
Of course, all of this stuff was racially motivated. Hell, even when we were the kids during COVID, the way that they were, fighting to get kids into school is like this. The people that were fighting for it were, the upper class. They're like, we wanted the kids back in school because honestly, they didn't probably want to take care of their kids. I get it, but the issue is that now, we have in my district, the parents have to go to work. They got to do all this stuff, and if a kid gets sick, if they got to miss work, they have to miss work, and now their children are left at home alone. So all of it is definitely racially, motivated. It's racially, financially. It's just a moral, just detriment to our children, and I hate it because no one seems to care. I'm not gonna say no one cares. We care, but it's like, what else can we do? We just gotta keep pushing forward and trying, teach our kids the best of our abilities. And the best of our abilities is going to do, well, but we also, have to understand that, hey, we got to change the way we think about our students, especially in the school. I hear a lot of times how teachers talk to their students, and it's like, yo, do you understand all these kids have so much trauma? Like you're doing all this talking, like this shit doesn't help. And because I don't have that type of authority to say, hey, yo, chill, I can say something, but it just bounces out because I don't have that type of authority. But it's so many different things that and I feel like with all the systemic issues that's going on, I think the one big thing that could help our children love school is to honestly be kind to them. A lot of times I've even heard literally someone say, that the kid is guilty until proven innocent, and I'm like, do you know how much that sounds? It was a TikTok that I just recently saw while I was doing my little TikTok binging, and they were saying how, like, why were kids fighting at 8 a.m. in the morning, and she broke it down to because school was a prison. The schools that they went to were prisons. It was like you have to line up, you have to walk, you gotta, do all these things. You got cameras watching you everywhere. You gotta say, yes sir, no sir. If you do anything wrong, you go into the ward and the principal. Mm-hmm. I'm saying, only thing is at least you can go home. Mm-hmm. And so it was treated like prison. And so what happens when you're in that type of environment? You lash out. That's the way it is. And that's why, the school to prison pipeline is a real thing, because honestly, that's how it is manifested. Either you're going to go to work, you might become a CEO, you might become something like that, but most people who are CEOs really sucked at school. I mean, they sucked at it. It's other things, but people who started from the bottom and created, they sucked. They wasn't like the smartest. They had the more creativity, but a lot of times creativity isn't, awarded.
Yeah, definitely is some value.
So it's a lot. I can go hours and hours about the education system in America. We get to a point where I don't know, when I finally have children, do I want to, put them in public education? And it depends on, when I have kids, I see how it's at, because like I said, they're stripping a lot of, resources for public education on purpose. Mm-hmm. So.
Yeah, that's crazy. The whole prison and pipeline comparison, you made a whole lot of points with that. Because, like, really, I had to face a lot of messed up discrimination. Like, I could go on and on about my experiences from, like, school and everything, and just all the shit I had to deal with and everything, from me being like, I don't like to use the term bullied and everything. I was basically harassed, essentially, because that's what kids do at that age. They just want to spread rumors and do all types of coward bullshit and everything. And then it's just like, a lot of, I was in a predominantly white school. There's only so much I can do about it when it's like nobody sticks up for me. No one really reports it. Just the year before my 8th grade year, there was a time like I had a friend of mine, another black kid who was dating this one girl and everything, who was like Arabian, and it's like this white girl called her a terrorist, which, like, very disrespectful, very racist, very wrong. Definitely not something to be supported. She responded to her by calling her a fat country hobo, which we thought was very funny. So we would just keep laughing. We thought it was hilarious because why would you disrespect somebody like that? And for them to come back and do like that, it's just like she's not in the wrong. And they took us inside the principal's office to apologize to her. Why? I don't know. Like, it's just for laughing. You're gonna get mad at us, the ones that aren't the ones racially profiled, and saying for laughing and everything, which is like, okay, you don't want no one to be body shamed or whatever, but we weren't the one disrespected. We're just laughing. The following year, and everything, this is my 8th grade year, these kids used to spread rumors about me, all types of weird stuff and everything, and all these teachers used to do was nothing. They didn't do anything. All these kids would say like, "Oh no, I didn't say that," and then their parents, like, "Oh no, my kid would never do anything like that." I got no support, nothing. This went on for months. These same kids end up growing up to be getting in and out of prison and everything. And these are like, I don't want to be like, okay, they're Caucasian or everything, but it's like, imagine growing like in an affluent like community and everything. And you literally have all the privileges to do whatever. And it's like you mess around and just like you end up in prison anyway. And it's just like it really says a lot. I've never been arrested, nothing. Not because I'm above like being arrested or anything, because it could happen and everything, but a lot of it will have to be like people having to profile me or get me caught up or anything like that for something I didn't do or something. I'm just saying, God forbid if anything like that ever happens. But it's just like, I had to stay on the straight and narrow just because I get profiled anyway as a black male. I'm 6'1". I'm kind of, like I got to be careful how I react or what I do or if I get angry or how I respond and everything because like I could be profiled as being like aggressive, or being a thug, which is really just a deviation of the term nigger, which is like, let's just call it is what it is.
Yeah.
And everything. And it's just like, it's always like a maze, like even for me. And then it's just like, it's just I could go through all of that and still still seek out to get my education, still be a good citizen, still like focus on my goals and my passions and everything. And it's just like it's just like the kind of obstacles they set for black boys, especially like in these institutions and everything. It's just insane. It's insanity. Like how it's just like how this is not really studied. Like how this is really no different from prison and everything. Like really like you're really putting kids in an environment of like adversity and trauma and toxicity, and because your lack of like empathy for a child and everything, because whether if it be like skin color or whatever, race, culture, whatever, and you really malign them to the point where it's just like they have to carry those scars throughout their lives and try to really get in and out of counseling to try to work past it. If they don't, it's like they end up becoming like they end up becoming these figures in society that end up in that system, this constant loop in and out of prison, struggling, and felonious behavior and stuff of that nature, all because you chose to just break them down, into that situation. It's really depressing how that's the reality of the situation. But it's like, what are your thoughts in regards to that?
I mean, there are studies there's a new wave of studies called black male studies that I've been just interested in. It talks about that. It definitely starts speaking about what black males are seeing or what they're going through when it comes to so many different things. I mean, especially I think it's one of the great things because we always demonize the males, but we never look into why they're that way. Why this happening. It's always a culture of this is rap and hip hop, but like our boys are not just growing up just doing it. I mean, like there's we can always look at the problems of so many different demographics and come up with justifications on why this and why that and why this. But when it comes to our black males, it's a big thing of they just feel like we're just wired that way. I mean, it goes back to our ancestors who were enslaved. I can't remember the diagnosis right now, but there was literally a diagnosis that was given to black slaves that wanted to leave. They called it. It was literally a mental illness for them to try to escape, to go against the grain of society. And we black males, they're being put in so many positions. Now, I'm not gonna say that that every black male is the reason, because some I do have people that have those same privileges that still struggle, with things, but that's like the outliers. But a lot of the black males that you see that are in trouble is you look at the type of dynamics that they lived in. And I'm glad they're studying it. I'm glad they're actually, putting forth the effort to look into it, because it's an epidemic. I mean, there has to be a reason why. It just can't be, oh, we're wired that way. Our black girls, or they're wired that way. It's not true. So I believe that that the way that black boys are basically put into the jungle and then grow to be black men that unfortunately become what they call menace to society. I think it needs to be looked at like, why is it this way? It's just not, we're wired that way. We're too much, we're smarter. Has been studies that show that black children in general, that they develop, naturally than their racial counterparts. But what happened? What is happening when we get to a level where it's like, yo, why are they now, always behind when it comes to education? Why socially, emotionally, the social cues, what's happening? I just think that is because of what the where we're at, what place we are. I mean, even when it comes to black, wealth is going backwards. It's trending towards zero. That's concerning, because that is one of the reasons why we have our parents that have to work 2, 3, 4 jobs, especially black people. We got to work just to get something. So there's studies being done. I love reading, a lot of them. There's been controversy between who's giving it, but I think that it needs to be studied. It needs to be studied in a way of how the system is hurting our black males, especially our black boys that turn to our black men.
No, definitely, man. It's crazy, like, how this system works to really just, break us down and stuff of that nature, to the point where it's just, or try to malign us to the point where it's almost inhumane, And it's just like, it's sad and depressing, but it's like, we all know what this system is. Like, it's kind of been like this for a very long time. We were enslaved for 400 years at one point. Yeah. As a people, like, it's just like, I mean, I'm African and everything. My country was founded by American slaves, Liberia, if you do the history and stuff of that nature.
I was just reading about that. It was interesting, because I've been like, ever since I did my DNA ancestry now, I've been like really like going back to my lineage. So it's really interesting. I do.
Oh, really? What's your lineage? Just asking.
Shoot, I'm sorry. I can actually, let me pull this so I can give it to you, because I have it on.
Oh yeah, you got the app and everything. Okay, because I spoke about ancestry and everything like on a previous episode. We were just talking about stuff of that nature. So it's like to know that you actually did it. Actually.
Yeah, I did it.
So. Don't mean to deviate, ladies and gentlemen, for the subject.
No, you're fine. So I have 30% Nigeria, 17% Ivory Coast, Cameroon 17%, Benin and Togo 13%, Scotland 9%, Senegal 5%, Mali 5%, Southeast Asia, England and Northwestern 1%, Wales, Ireland. Which is really interesting is the Scotland, because on my lineage, going through the census, I was able to find a lot of my ancestors were categorized as mulatto. So that's what's probably that big, Scotland. And then also, my mother's maiden name Ferguson is Scottish. So that's an interesting thing. But yeah, it's this a history of Liberia, and Black Americans and Black American slaves. That was a big thing that I was reading about, how they were trying to push, the freedmen out to a different country, different area, which I feel it wasn't fair to the natives of what present day Liberia, because it's like, no, they have theirs, and also they were trying to push them out because the freedmen were the ones that was able to like push these slave revolts. It also, if you actually look at the history, Abe Lincoln, he also it wasn't just Liberia. They were trying to push free slaves into Haiti, into Panama. There was actually a deal for them to go to Panama, but a lot of the abolitionists pushed back and said like don't push them out because you're scared they're gonna revolt. You brought them over here. You need to either end slavery for everyone, so they can be integrated into American society, but you just trying to send them out is not fair. And I agree with it. It's like 50% agree because like I would have loved for us to have our own like country.
Yeah, I mean Liberia's that country. I mean, it's a Black American country. It was founded by Black Americans for Black Americans.
It is, but it wasn't fair. It was more so. It was like they kind of like made us the colonizers, and it wasn't fair because that's where the Civil War happened. It just I don't think it was fair.
2 whole civil wars because of that. You know?
And that's not fair to the country. It's not fair to the natives. Like I don't think Black Americans don't want to be colonizers. You know, thankfully, you know now it's grown into a own country, but. I do believe that I would have loved for us to have our own space that's uninhabited, but also America brought us over here to the slave trade. Don't try to kick out our free people because they want our other slaves to revolt. So that's the reason why they was pushing out, because they was like the free people were like pushed. The free people were working with abolitionists to like to push for the slaves to revolt, to push for end of slavery, and it's like. Yeah. Don't get scared now because you and then the funny thing about it, they also didn't want us to go because they knew that we were going to flourish. So they was like, should we give them land, a whole country, and let them flourish, or should we keep them here? So it's like a double-edged sword. And I was like, I would love for us to have our own space, our own country. It was in a space in Panama, in the Caribbean. Mm-hmm. I think that would have helped benefit. But also I feel like America, you brought us over here, you need to give us our rights and stuff. And I guess that even goes into, the politics of how we're at now, but that's a whole other story.
Yeah, I mean, because Liberia was doing pretty well, like in the 70s and everything, 60s. We're doing pretty good for ourselves. I would have really wanted a lot of Black Americans to relocate into Western Africa. I know they're trying to get their citizenship in Ghana and everything of that nature. I feel like, it's definitely something to consider now that you like have the technology now. You can pretty much connect to whatever tribal. I know I saw on the list it said the Bantu peoples and everything. And, you can just reconnect. It's like you can still carry that identity within your American roots also. But just, I feel like, given a space where it's just like, I feel like we need to really start building more relations between Black American, the African diaspora as a whole, and African peoples as a whole too. Because it's like, we're all still the same peoples. We're just spread out all over the place, and we were travelers back in the day too, like nomads traveling. It was just, it kind of came with it, at the same time, it's just like, I feel like it would just be best to kind of just kind of heal from a lot of all the past traumas and all the issues with that, to kind of help really rediscover our Black identity in a more positive light. I know we give it the reins up to Disney when it comes to just doing the whole Black Panther movies and everything, which I love. I can't wait to go see the next Black Panther movie and everything, because at the same time, we can't be reliant on just like, all just like cartoon and superheroes and everything. We really need to really build a sense of just,
Well, I think I'm not gonna push back on that because I love the diaspora, but I think when it comes to Black Americans, I don't think that we struggle with our identity. I think the identity is what's being sold, is what people see. Yeah. And that's really the biggest issue.
Yeah. It's the image and the media and everything.
It's the media that sells Black American culture as just this one thing. So
and trauma, especially with the Jeffrey Dahmer situation, like us being like victimized so like viciously and everything. It's just like, Black trauma. I even spoke about how Black trauma is literally like put on display as like, something to really dive into, sink your teeth in. Seeing it as just something, just entertainment. Right. And that's where it just kind of gets there. It's okay to like try to bring something, to bring education about something, but definitely not to in a sense sensationalize it. You know what I'm saying?
It's definitely trauma sensationalism and in the media for Black Americans. They just came out with the movie Till. I'm like, how many movies are you gonna do about Emmett Till? Man, I know that we know what happened. The woman Carolyn Bryant is still alive. She should have been prosecuted, but that's a whole other story. But I do agree that there should be more camaraderie between the in the diaspora, but we also have to bring up the fact that the way that Black Americans, are looked upon by the diaspora is problematic. Mm-hmm. When we hear these things, like I know that I've dated, like women that are from West Africa. I've dated women that are from the West Indies, and I'll ask the question. I said, what do your family think about Black Americans? And it's always the same thing. They think that we're lazy, we're this, we have no culture, we have all these things, and it's like, it's really messed up because like everything that when people move here, when you think of Black culture, it's the only thing you think of is Black American culture, and it's it's like it's kind of fear-raising because like you said, when you're in America, the first thing they see is Black. They don't what's called, but when you are able to separate. When it's separated, it's like we get the bad rap because we're like dang, like we fought for the Immigration Act that we come over. Everything we have that people are coming over here, we're able to and then when we hear we don't have culture, we're like, but I'm from Atlanta. Atlanta is a culture by itself.
No,
if you're from the West Coast, you have a West Coast. If you're from the South, where my family from Mississippi, that's a whole culture. New Orleans, I have family in Louisiana. That's a culture. People in New York is a culture. So it's
California has a little bit.
Yeah. So it's like when we say, that when say have no culture, it's like, yo, like you're disrespectful because I think the biggest thing, the reason why they say it is because they think it's American culture, but American culture would not exist without Black people.
Exactly.
And so I think when
America wouldn't even like survive without Black people, they would have just been like another like offering. It would have been a failed project, to be honest. It would have just, a lot of these folks would have just died out after a while.
Right.
So the Native Americans would have just, nah, man, y'all got to get out. That would have just taken time. Like, we literally, like, we're like the blood, we're the energy and the spirit of this country, the foundation of the people. And I know you spoke about things about just how, the images of like Black Americans being seen as lazy and everything. Like, keep in mind, I'm Liberian. I had 2 African parents. And so they try to push me in predominantly white schools because they thought like, that's where the positivity was. But I'll tell it to you from experience, what I've learned and everything, the most hardworking people in this country are Black people. I know it's just like people like, it's the Mexicans or the Asians. They have things more organized and everything. Like Mexicans and the Latino community, they definitely had their strides and working hard. But really, like, considering the traumas that we had to deal with for 400 years, having to fight for our humanity, our dignity, just to even like be equal was a fight, was a struggle. For us to be like not us being changed now, we had to fight for that. We had to deal with all types of unspeakable horrors and everything just in this country alone. All types of trying to work past the traumas, generational traumas, because traumas passed down for generations now, whether we want to go into discussion or acknowledge it or not. And we had to fight through that to actually build something. We built Black Wall Street. They burnt that down. We're trying to get through with the HBCU. That's why I try to push the HBCU so hard and everything. Some of the HBCUs closed down. Okay, pretty sad. There's plenty more they can dive into and stuff. And it's just like, I feel like the 2020s are really going to be the time where people or a lot of the African diaspora are really going to wake up and really like invest in themselves. And that's why education is such a very crucial part to really invest in. Because it's like, if without education, knowledge is very much, it's very much symbiotic with power. The more you know, the more you're self-aware, the more you can be able to maneuver and get through society and everything. And I feel like the more like we begin to rely on ourselves and invest in one another, Black-owned businesses, stuff of that nature, education, HBCUs, just finances in the sense, like you say, even wealth. We don't even have a whole lot of wealth built up. And then everybody else just kind of keeps their wealth within their community. I live on East Side Charlotte. You go down Central, ain't nothing but a whole lot of Latino businesses, from laundromats, from even credit unions, restaurants, dentists. Like, it's a whole street with none of that. Grocery stores. Like, why don't we have that? And it's just like, I know they got a lot of that in Atlanta, though. But it's just like, why isn't it just all over the place for us?
I mean, really, honestly, and I would say, and this is not just because I work with what's called. It's actually pretty interesting because the Hispanic people that I work with, the Latin Hispanic people I work with, they actually say that we're the ones that got our shit together when it comes to like sticking together. And we look at them like, well, y'all got your shit together.
Everybody got their shit together.
Everybody, it's like but. When you look at, and this is like kind of like where it is a struggle for me, because when we talk about like the Black and Brown coalition, it's like it's almost none. It's just like of course, like what struggles with me is that with the Black and Brown coalition, like people see me as like one of the good Black people. Oh, he's one of the good Black people, so he's cool. But that's
not problematic one.
Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like, and that happened to me in so many, especially with they say people, persons of color. It's like, I don't, I say black, when something black happens, it's not personal. It's like, no, black, it's just, we're specifically have our own issues. So I see it, and I applaud them for doing what they do, but we also understand that a lot of that wealth that they're building, all these things they're building, is simply because they have more advantages when it comes to like things just like getting business loans. That's very big. A lot of our, I always joke about this when we look at how many things, like when we see breweries get popped up, it be people who like just we just want to open a brewery, and their brewery is decked out with everything they need. But when you see a black business want to open a lounge or something like that, it's like, it's almost like bare minimum. You know what I'm saying? They don't have the same variety of things that this other company, especially a white owner, ones that have. And we're like, it's why? And it's because the banking, the loans and things that they get is so skewed. I mean, a lot of times people who own business, especially brick and mortar business, they're really like working to get by to make sure they don't foreclose. They're not making profit. So when you see a drink that's you go to one place, I love like Noda 101. I can go get me a lemon drop shot for $6. That same lemon drop shop at maybe up the street at a black owned business like $15. And I don't blame the black owned business. It's because I know that they are really literally are doing this just to stay afloat, versus a white owned business that just can open two business back to back with loans and be just flourishing. They have better APR, same credit score,
and everything.
not even bad credit. They can have the same credit. They get better APR on financing. A lot of our black businesses they have great credit. They know it, and that's why I kind of sometimes I push back on the financial literacy piece that's getting pushed about black people, because we have always been financially literate. We open banks. We had the Freedmen Banks Bureau. We had these things. It's just the system literally does shit. I mean, was it Bank of America, Wells Fargo literally just got deemed for how many people they were denying home loans to in 2022.
Crazy.
You know what I'm saying? So like when
Still doing this.
Yeah. So when we see these things, there's so many resources out there that Black Americans, and I want to not separating the diaspora, but there's specifically when you have Black Americans, what you would call like the descendant of slaves of American slavery, they're struggling to get the same type of resources that other people that come over off the back of our work come over and they get. And all we're saying is that we want what's called when you go up north, you see a lot of Caribbean Africans. They have their own businesses. You're like, how they have their own business? Just like that is they have these resources that we're not getting. And that's where when you look into politics, when I look into my politics, I specifically look for people who is pushing for Black business, and I say Black American businesses. Who's fighting for reparations? On the Sherry Beasley, Ted Budd, there's another person that's a Green Party representative. He's the only one that's literally speaking about reparations for descendants of slaves, and he's a white man.
Yeah, no, seriously.
You know what I'm saying? And it's like you expect, they expect us to blindly vote for them, but we're like, you're not even looking at. And the thing is, he's also looking at criminal justice, like reform, to the point of like it's going to help Black men, help him see. He literally has on his thing talking about like Black men and how he's going to have help that. So I'm like,
and nobody is like voted for him.
He's not. Oh, if I was to tell everybody who he was, they're like, I never heard. But you heard Sherry Beasley and Ted Budd, they're fighting. But if you look at it, there's really no Black American push. It's only what the Democrats want to push in their whole thing, and it's
their
not
whole agenda, and it's just
and their agenda is not a Black agenda. And people say, oh, this will affect. I say, yeah, it'll affect the rising tides, but we're specifically like there's so many ways that people are getting their own agenda, but not the Black agenda specifically for Black males. They always say Black men are lazy, but we're not lazy. We just don't have the same opportunities. There's if you look at and just see how many opportunities there are for Black women, which I always going to push. It's not just to say there's not a Black men versus Black women thing. It's just more so when the Black man has the same opportunities, we all win.
Yes.
You know, we all win. I want those same opportunities, and I'm not saying that black women need to give up the opportunity. I just say that the same opportunities that black women are getting needs to be given to us too. Like I want both of us to be able to win, and so
Equally, but it's just like, a lot of us have to work like 10 times, 3 times to 10 times harder just to get somewhere in life and everything. And it's just like, it kind of becomes more difficult. And I feel like that kind of messes up the balance when it comes to black men and black women, of course, especially in the household, especially with a lot of black women but earning much high paying jobs and everything. And a lot of us kind of stagnant, having to do other things. A lot of us turn to like selling drugs or doing all types of things just to really just try to be more and more competitive with each other, and then that leads to a whole lot of dysfunction on that end. Then we're no longer dating each other as often as I feel like we need to, or not to stick together as much as we need to. And then it all just comes down to things like that. Like women are naturally hypergamous, so they gotta try to. And it's not saying that it's just all about trying to get a man or whatever, but at the same time, while they're trying to build their education to like get more stuff for themselves, be more independent, because that's what this life demands. You need that education. You need to be more competitive, and if you want to get more out of life, it's becoming harder and harder to do so. And like for males, it's getting even harder for us because we're not even seeking as much education as like you stated earlier, and stuff of that nature. It's depressing. That's just the system as it is. When it comes to solution, I don't really know one off the top of my head because once again, I'm just a citizen in this society, just one black man. We can go on about ideas and solutions and everything, but it's like I feel like a lot of it really just stems from really just what can we do about the image process, because it's like a lot of us, it's the first thing that we see. What do we do about the image process, like in regards to education, black-owned businesses, financial literacy, things of that nature? Because it's like, I know a lot of people who don't want to make it through the mud, actually earn their degree. They'd rather scam, or they'd rather sell drugs. They'd rather do all this other extra stuff. It's like, dude, just go to school and just get. I know it's not easy. It's been even tough for me, but it's like at the same time, it's like, I had to remain patient. You got to just get through the mud and just get through all the hard parts. Like, there ain't no easy way. And then the next thing you know, they end up giving up their freedom and end up in a situation they didn't have to,
I would say that when, people say, just, go to school and get education, I think that's like not fair to people because school is not for everyone.
Exactly.
Like if I could honestly, truthfully go back and what I know now, I'll still probably go to school because it was fun. I'm not gonna say that like HBCU life was fun, and I also like working with, in psychology and counseling and whatnot.
Oh yeah.
But when I look at a lot of our, especially our boys, it's not as hard. It's not as just go and push through. It's not because they want to be. I feel like a lot of black men want to be the financial leaders that that they're grandparents and era, I think, but they don't want to be in that situation where they have to go through this and be in a place where they sometimes don't feel welcome. I mean, even dead is whatever. America's in debt and they still living. So exactly. It's more so, I think, it's because they just don't. We have to just just not say that just go to school and get education. I think there needs to be other routes for getting to what they say, getting to the bag, but because it's not pushed out there in a way, it's like when we see people who are scammers or doing things, I look at it as like, yes, what you're doing is wrong, but you have the talent to be able to do something right. And I think that's, when they get put in jail is supposed to be rehabilitation, but they're not. They're just using it for labor. So what are we doing when we see these children that are, off the I guess the path that they need to be on? We're just throwing them in jail and saying they're a menace to society. There has to be something else, and there is other places. But that's where it goes back to those resources to be able to say, dang, you're able to crack into so and so account. Would you like to go to this program for cybersecurity?
Yeah.
Now this person that's able to do this, they're making money because they use those skills. I mean, to be able to break into codes and do all this stuff, that's a skill. A lot when you look at people in jail when they're doing a lot, if you ever like just look at what they're creating in jail and whatnot, these are people that have skills, that have talent, but because the rehabilitation is not being real,
Yeah.
or before when they were younger and that creativity that they were showing, was themed as just being menaces. It wasn't cultivated into something positive. So I wouldn't say school is just the American education system way is not just the way that we gotta look at it, because if that's the case, then we're gonna see more people in jail than anything.
Yeah, no, seriously, and like even on the show Atlanta, which I'm sure you're familiar with, considering like I know you remember the episode. I need to watch that show again. 'Cause I haven't seen it in a while. I know the new season's coming out, but seriously, like when Paperboy was put in jail in the Netherlands, they treated him not only like a human being, but it acted like a rehabilitation process. And compared to America, where it's just full on racial human rights violations and everything of that nature, and it's just crazy how the system is set up and everything, and it's just like do you feel like maybe we just need to just relocate like somewhere else and everything to be like, to get the benefits of that society? Let's say, the Netherlands or whatever, or it's just like
no, because if that was funny with the thing with Atlanta, but if you actually look into the realistic, Netherlands has actually started changing their jailing policy, that all that apartment type style rehabilitation is. I'm sorry, let me say that back. If you look into it, the citizens of the Netherlands, the people who are like from Netherlands, they're still getting that, but the people of color are actually getting inhumane things. So it's not a move. Anti-blackness is worldwide. Anti-blackness is worldwide, even in majority black countries. You go into the Caribbean, you see anti-blackness. There was a piece that I just watched because Argentina, one of my coworkers is Argentinian, and she was saying, that they literally were trying to whitewash black Argentinians. It was to a point that they even had the forum that said that a white Argentinian, I believe, said that there's no black people in Argentina. There's like a whole group of black Argentinians sitting right in front of them. So it's not about movement. It's about, I believe that, and I believe it needs to be a change in who we are elected officials, and that's why I say that if we really want to, and this is my opinion, I love Malcolm X. I think his ballot, the ballot of the bullet, was one of the best things that ever happened, because we give our vote to anybody that's just on a ticket that is a Democrat, or if you're conservative or Republican, and neither side is doing anything. That's why when I hear people saying, "Oh, I'm off the plantation, Democrat plantation," I say, "You just went to Candyland. you still on a plantation." They're not. There's no black agenda. There has to be a change in political allegiances, and until that happens, we're just going to be a puppet without, a puppet with strings on, and we ain't even getting paid for our show.
no, seriously. I voted for Howie Hawkins last time. I don't know why everybody was complaining or so of Joe Biden's behind over everything, because it's like, I know, I get he was like, behind Barack Obama and everything, but I feel like we really could have done a little bit better if we just invested our vote into somebody that's not, pushed by corporations, or was not like a long time, like, politician. And Howie Hawkins would have been the best choice, in my opinion, at that point. But, it's just like we live in a social media age. So let's try making things popular. Like, literally, we even let one white girl go on like the period at period, and she's like now a celebrity now. It's like, but y'all can't put like the right people in office,
I mean, yeah.
It's sad, but that's just the reality of the situation, and like I know you've overcome like our timestamp, so we need to start reeling it in pretty soon. I mean, if you got any final opinions, you're free to state them right quick before we go off, and stuff. But that's just
now, this was fun. Where give my voice. I talk a lot anyway, so it's always
it's good.
fun.
I prefer it because then it's easier to get more content in. But
it's good to be positive. But I just think that my biggest thing is I know my lot in place. And my lot in place is really helping black boys see a difference in what they're used to. I would say we as Black Americans, we need to Black America, and I say that in including the whole diaspora that are in America. We just gotta do better when it comes to who we put into our our politics. We need to do better when we are going against each other. I hate the diaspora war that we see on social media. I hate the diaspora war that we see in homes. I just think we need to do better. But my biggest thing is that we need to do better amongst our children, our black girls and our black boys. Like, we have to start doing right by them. The best way to do it is to honestly go against what the American education system is portraying as quote unquote education.
Yeah, couldn't have said it better, man. Okay. But that's it from the Mental Threads podcast. I appreciate you, Harrison Horne, for hopping on for episode 117 and everything. You know, this education system. I'm glad.
My socials.
Do you want to?
Yeah,
I mean, yeah, sure. Go ahead. Yeah, sure.
All right. If you want to, you can follow me on Instagram at Malcolm _ the letter Excellence. XCELLENCE. TikTok, counselors of TikTok.
Okay.
I definitely, say a lot of things on there too. So like I said, yeah,
That's it. All right, cool. Yeah. I'm glad you enjoyed your first podcast experience and everything. I hope maybe to see you for season 3, maybe next year. You can go into more detail maybe when I bring more videos and stuff of that nature. It was good speaking to you about a lot of these matters. I feel like education system, especially like for like this generation, I know you're a little bit older and everything in your 30s, so it's like at least you've probably seen a little bit more out of life and how things are. And also from a perspective of a counselor, I feel like it's very crucial for us to really delve deeper into like the education system, relations in regards to diaspora and stuff of that nature. I'm trying to configure what solutions could help us along our way. But I appreciate you for hopping on. And that's it for this episode of the Mental Threads podcast. We're sewn in and now we're sewn out.